Hello and welcome to this week's mini session, which is all about anger. A super important topic, don't you think? I mean, who doesn't experience anger? And we all have that experience because of our fight or flight response. So it's our nervous system's reactivity to perceived threat. And look, sometimes it might be real threat, but what I'm talking about now is more that everyday, rising emotional state of anger that we have that is generally motivated by a desire to combat some sort of difference, or a perceived threat. When I was researching this, doing a bit of reading and just collecting my thoughts about what I think is really important to say, I came across this article from Psychology Today. The article's just called Anger. Actually, it's quite a big article, but there's a little list here that I want to read that I think is so helpful. And I really would encourage you to listen to this list of traits of what trigger anger. Because this is the most important thing. Remember, we're here for self-awareness and self-care practice, and for you to learn how to anchor your emotional state of anger before your speech and action lashes out. So you're wanting to notice your emotional state nice and early, intercept it, do your anchoring practice with breath, with movement, whatever it is. And remember our mantra, don't speak until you're calm and clear. So learning how to anchor your emotion is one practice, which is done through the breath. But let me read this list because I think it's very, very helpful. So this is a list that is traits that trigger anger. 1, entitlement, believing that one's rights and privileges are superior to other people. 2, focusing on things out of personal control, such as a partner's behaviour. Who's got bells ringing with that one? 3, external regulation of emotions, trying to regulate emotions by controlling one's environment. So that's, that sense of feeling the turmoil and turbulence brewing and rising inside of you and trying to control the environment rather than going inward to do anchoring. I don't know what number I'm up to. 4, I think it is. External locus of control, believing that your well-being is controlled by sources outside oneself. So that's that. If this series of events or if this speech and action occurs, then my well-being is threatened. But actually, again, it's my role to support myself and soothe myself when I'm feeling anxious or threatened. Refusal to see others' perspectives or viewing different perspective as threats. Viewing different perspective as threats. Remember, perceived threat. Just because you have a different opinion to me, I feel the need to lash out and correct your view or dismiss your view because my opinion is the right one. So there's a refusal to see the other person's perspective. Next one, low tolerance for discomfort. I love that one. So if I'm feeling uncomfortable in some sort of moment of emotional turbulence or conflict brewing or disagreement or misunderstanding, I lash out because I have no internal anchoring practice. And so all of my emotion rises and goes to the external source that I perceive is making me feel like this. Make sense? Next one, low tolerance for ambiguity. I love this one. Really, really common in relationships. Quite often we have the over talker, the over functioner. Hello, that's my one of my traits that I just keep talking, as you can tell, and getting frustrated, which rises into anger when the other person's not being clear. So that is a really, really good one to notice in your primary relationship or parent-child relationships, that we get frustrated, which is a form of anger. Frustration or low tolerance is a form of anger. And if it continues to, if you get triggered and you get caught in that, then you can have that fury and rage. Hyper-focus on blame, so getting caught in narratives rather than the emotional state, and believing in your mind that the other person, because they do X, which is the blame, that's why I'm raging. And remember, at no point is raging, fury, or intense anger good for you in relationship. It's only going to create a dynamic that you're going to get the same back. So anchoring practice is very, very important. And the last one, a fragile ego. So being thin-skinned. You know, some temperaments have that tendency of just hearing and sensing things that trigger a defense response that can then blow up into an angry outburst. So I thought that was just a fantastic list of tendencies, so psychological constructs that get triggered and that trigger a state of perceived threat in my attachment or in my emotion, in my threat system, and create angry reactivity, the emotion of anger in my body. And then remember, that's the state. And then I put a story on top of that. It's because this is happening that I'm angry and furious. But the most important thing, that might be true that that's happening, but the most important thing is that you anchor with your breath and with movement, and then decide what to do with this event that's happened that's led you to experiencing anger. I hope that's helpful. See you next time.